Hi, everyone. Good morning. Very much good morning for Kim over here in Australia. Thank you so much for joining us. This is GeekFest, the very first panel of our 8th year of our GeekFest Film Festivals. Doing it virtual this year for obvious reasons. Thank you for joining us. Shout out to itsashort.com for allowing us to be streaming on your panel. And without further ado, let's dive right into our GeekFest Filmmaker panel. My name is Jackie Dallas. I am your moderator today. I am an actress and a filmmaker based in LA. And I would like to just go through and have all of you guys introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourself, the film that you did, and any other little tidbit that you want to throw in there, because y'all can introduce yourselves much, much better than I could do you guys justice. So we're going to go around based on my screen. So Kim, you're up.
Oh, man.
I'm putting you first.
I am a filmmaker from Brisbane, Australia, and this is my first film effort, and it's basically like inspired by my favorite movies of all time, which is Blade and Underworld, and just wanted to have some fun and make something that I want to watch with a lot of action, some blood, kick-ass soundtrack. So hopefully people would enjoy watching it, and just pure entertainment, I suppose. There's really no message or anything into it. It's just something that I wanted to do.
Very cool. Is?
I'm Gutierrez. I directed comic conventions. It's a short film, but the intention originally was to, I think, make it into a web series. So I kind of just threw all these ideas at the wall to see what would kind of stick. I'm a big comic book fan. I grew up with comics, so I wanted to have a lot of that influence in the film. By doing so, I ripped off like Edgar Wright and like Scott Pilgrim, but that's okay because I was just experimenting. But yeah, that's the whole idea with that. It's my first comedy really, because I usually do a lot of dramas, like a lot of deep dramas. So it was really interesting to do comedy because I always love comedy. So I hope to continue that.
Phil.
Hello, I'm Phil Hawkins. I'm the writer-director of Star Wars Origins, which is a kind of Star Wars Indiana Jones mashup movie. I'm a director by trade. This is my job. So I kind of started out my started my enthusiasm for filmmaking by making like fan films in my back garden on VHS. So kind of fun to kind of come around full circle and make this kind of crazy movie shot in the Sahara Desert. So that's me in Star Wars Origins.
Very cool. Josephine and Ed. Oh, I think sound is a little quiet on your end. Do we have sound? Nope.
Oops, a bit mute.
Oh no, I don't see their mute button though. Technical difficulties. Let's circle back around. Rob.
Hi, my name is Rob Ayling. I'm the writer and director of Living in Crime Alley. Good evening if you're here from the UK, and good morning if you're in the US. So, hello.
And Luke.
Hi, I'm Luke Giudici. I wrote and directed Sundown Trail. With Sundown Trail, I wanted to tell like a classic sci-fi Western sort of story about a kid who has to save his dad. And believe it or not, we actually shot this film before COVID. We shot it in late 2019. So the masks and having to wear them is merely a coincidence.
Some eerie premonition there. Josephine and Edward, do we have sound? Oh no. Oh no. We're gonna do sign language. We're gonna do some miming.
Oh no.
How about you play one character and I'll play the other one, and we'll.
Yeah. They'll move their mouths and then we'll just we'll say what we think they're saying. That's always a fun game.
We'll do an amazing game of Pictionary. Right. I think
Hang on over here. I think let's dive into the topics. You guys talked a lot about like your inspirations, and I think that's one of my favorite topics to talk about, especially with fan films, right? Because clearly we've all drawn on very strong inspirations. So some of them are a little more obvious, like Living in Crime Alley. We've got some Batman going on there, Star Wars Origins. I don't know what you're referencing, but let's talk a little bit more about that. And if whoever wants to start can start. Just dive in, like why you chose that particular franchise or film, and some of the other influences that you brought into it.
Go on, Rob.
Ed?
Oh, okay. All right. I'll go first. Sorry. Cut out a little bit there, so I'm just making sure I got that. So for me, with Batman, it is literally. I mean, you can probably tell from what I'm wearing from here to here and everywhere. I grew up with the character. I read the comics. I watched the movies, the TV series, and I feel like I'm somewhat cheating when it comes to fan films, and in this regards to Living in Crime Alley, because I don't really see it as so much as a fan film, so to say, even though it's listed as one, and it has to be, but it's more a drama which happens to have Batman in it. So that's kind of how it first started out, really. It was just a straightforward drama about a father trying to bring up their daughter in a really run-down place in the city. And then at the time when I was writing it, I was going through the similar situation. I just lost my job, and I didn't know how to, get payment for rent or anything. So I wrote what I knew, basically. I was experiencing it, and I just wrote it down, and I thought, you know what, let's just be creatively active at this point. And then, as you can see around me, I'm surrounded by my fandom, and I just thought to myself, this character's been around for 80 years now, 82 years, and haven't really delved into the idea of the ground level Gothamite story of financial struggle. And I thought to myself, what would happen in that situation if Batman was to meet these characters, and how would he react and respond in this way? And it ultimately brings up the big question about what Batman's role plays within this city, and whether or not he's actually bringing true justice to this city. So, and that's what I want to throw out to the not only to the fans, but to general audience members. So that's why it is constructed the way it is. So that's why my fandom is as it is in this film.
I love it. There's a fresh take on it.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see, Josephine, Edward, how are we doing?
How are we doing?
Yeah!
All right. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
Hello.
All right.
this is why we do a sound check.
So good of you to join us.
Hello, officially. I'm Josephine Chang. I am the producer and one of the actresses, one of the only actresses for our short Make-A-Wish.
I'm Edward Ha. I'm one of the other main producers and actor for Make-A-Wish. And yes.
Awesome. Tell us just a real quick about your film, a little introduction, a little teaser.
Our short is a story about a fiance who gifts her significant other the best birthday present ever.
And we are keeping it that way for anyone who has not seen the short film. So, I don't know. I guess we'll have to talk about it. So, it's a delightful surprise for the fiance in the most dark, hilarious manner possible. Some have said it has become, unfortunately, timely as of the past few weeks, which has been a very interesting turn of events for our short film.
Very cool. And yeah, let me just take a real quick break for whoever's watching. All of these shorts are available to stream on instashort.com. We've been streaming them. We'll be having them all weekend. So if you've seen them already, awesome, great. Our panel's going to make a lot more sense to you. And if not, then definitely go back and watch them. Some of your favorite ones, all of them. And I do want to say that we're having a contest where if you vote on all 12 of the films that we have, you can be entered to win a $50 gift card to a movie theater of your choice. Now that movies are opening back up again, which will be awesome. Cool. Okay, I think that's all my plugs. Let's go back to talking about influences and all of that. So good, Phil, tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of fan films. I think I mentioned that's kind of what got me into making films. You know, it's kind of trying to make versions of the things I was seeing. You know, and failing miserably in my back garden with my friends. So yes, it's kind of interesting career-wise because I've been directing, 15 years professionally. So and Origins for me was a sort of way of having a bit of a passion project, making a personal project, having sort of made so many kind of commercial projects and things. I love fan films, but for me, the best ones are ones like Rob's that kind of take the IP or take the things that we know and twist them slightly in a very different way. So you're kind of lensed on the story from a different perspective. And I feel that's the power of fan films and power of fandom, is that interesting perspective on it. So I've always been fascinated by what George Lucas meant by, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, because kind of this phrase that we all know, but like, what does it actually mean? And then for me, it was sort of, okay, well, what if he's actually saying based on a true story? And where do we fit in that story? And so controversially for fan films, Star Wars Origins is set on Earth. It's set during World War II. So it's very much a kind of Earth-based story, and which hopefully makes sense by the end of it about why it's set on Earth. I'm obviously not going to spoil it, but it was kind of looking at the inspirations for both of these franchises and both of these things, about where did these ideas come from, especially with like Lucas is very much into myth, and Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, and the kind of the idea that Star Wars, like, even if you've not seen Star Wars, you know what it is, you know what a lightsaber is. It's kind of, it's in our culture. So it's kind of, where does that come from? So it's kind of exploring in a fun way that side of Star Wars, or a side that you'd never see a Disney Plus channel like show about. They'd never make it. So it's kind of up to us fans to kind of explore that. So that was the inspiration really for it, which just started out as a fun script that I never thought I'd actually make, and then 3 years later we'd made it. That's kind of the inspiration for it.
That's awesome. And I know in your introduction, you mentioned that you referenced Indiana Jones. I got a touch of even The Mummy while I was watching it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a celebration of action adventure. I mean, you could call it Star Wars, The Mummy, Indiana Jones, Stargate, Origins. Kind of, even there's Jurassic Park references in there. There's, some very obvious kind of Back to the Future things in there. There's a lot of fun. I grew up on these movies. These are the movies that I love and the movies that I want to make. So it was kind of a fun thing to try and throw in as kind of as many Easter eggs in there for fans to enjoy without, kind of getting in the way of the story. We actually made a Easter egg YouTube video, and it was like longer than the film to kind of explain how many Easter eggs are in there. But yeah, that was kind of a lot of fun to put those nods and references in there in the film.
For sure. Yeah, I noticed a lot of the dialogue were like classic quotes from some of the other movies. That's really, really great how you wove all those things in there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tell me more about yours.
So mine, kind of the genesis of the project was really trying to find a way to, again, just try to experiment with comedy. I've been doing writing and directing some dramas, and just taking influence from some of my favorite comedy movies. Like, I love Judd Apatow movies. I love how he takes, these like dramatic situations, but then, finds a way to add this like vulgar comedy or just, funny moments, but yet really make it personal. But then also trying to take my love of growing up reading comics and, sometimes being in like relationships where the other person may not understand, your fandom, And, you know, I've had friends where, you know, their boyfriend or their girlfriend sometimes just don't get Comic-Con, you know, they kind of put it in this little bubble. And I thought from that, it would be a really funny situation to make a character flawed, that he's so kind of obsessed with Comic-Con and his love of Lord of the Rings and things. And by the way, no relation to me. Everyone always asks that because I love Lord of the Rings. So they're like, oh, this is based on you. And like, no, it's actually just, I just kind of made it up. But yeah, I thought it would be funny to make a story about somebody who, although he's passionate about comics and things and the nerd community, that he would kind of ruin his relationship, and kind of see what funny things would come of that. But then also kind of, I wanted to, just like a lot of my other films, I wanted to create these characters that also included a lot of like Latino culture, all because my kind of part of my agenda with making a lot of films has been to put a lot of characters like myself in dramas or in comedies where they're not fitting any kind of like stereotype or exploitative theme that we've like constantly see. So it was like, I don't see that like comic book nerd guy as like a Latino. Like let's put him in the film and have him do social commentary, you know, and kind of poke fun at that whole like, you know, I'll sell my idea if I make the characters, you know, not Latino. And he just kind of comments on that. So I thought that was an interesting take on that. And so, yeah, and then I just visually, I just use a lot of influences. I love Edgar Wright. I love comic book stuff. And so those are some of the influences that I use a lot. And just referencing stuff like within the short, Manny, the character, he'll reference Lord of the Rings, and he'll reference, you know, Neil Gaiman, the Sandman comic. And so that's kind of his obsession. You know, he lives too much in this world. So that's a lot of my references were just the comics I read and read now. So, yeah.
I think it's a cool concept that you came up with, because you're not pigeonholing yourself into just one, you know, comic type or story or franchise. You're able to kind of explore all of them. And I really love how, you know, your film feels very timely as far as being inclusive and with the, you know, social commentary on diversity. And one of my favorite things about Comic-Con is that it's such an inclusive audience, right? It, like, there's people from all over. It doesn't matter if you're what country you're from, what religion you are, if you like this genre versus that genre. It's like, it's so inclusive. And I think it's
exactly.
Really wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love it so much. All right, who else wants to chime in?
I'll go.
All right, Luke.
So Sundown Trail is an original script. It's not based on anything, any properties or any other worlds. I'm a like everyone else on the call, I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and those seeing sci-fis and adventure films are some of my earliest cinematic memories. I've also really been influenced heavily by Westerns. I love a lot of the concepts in the Western. There's a lot of stories of individualism and man versus nature and good versus evil, and forming alliances with, you know, the people you think are bad at the beginning. So Sundown Trail, while it's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi, technically, really at its heart, it's a coming of age story. It's a coming of age story mixed with a Western. I kind of took the classic paw got snake bit, I got to go for antidote trope of a Western, and then transpose that into a science fiction sort of realm. One of the things I'm really interested in is this time where you're not really a kid and you're not quite an adult yet. And part of what we all experience in that moment is learning to define who we are as a person. And in part of defining us as people is separating us from our parents. How do we approach the world different than our parents? And how do we take what they've taught us and take our own inspiration and our own life and our own wants and desires and synthesize those into becoming a fully realized person? And so Sundown Trail, as it follows this boy as he's trying to save his dad, that's kind of the growth that he undergoes. That's the journey that he has to go on. And I think it's really important to use stories and use cinema to provide good examples for especially kids. And I think that, you know, entertainment for children, for young adults doesn't have to be all surface level. It can be deep, it can be meaningful. And so I wanted to tell a story that had compassion and forgiveness and hope, but also strength, and also showed that it's okay to stand up to evil and it's okay to protect your family. So those are all the things that kind of went into me formulating and writing Sundown Trail.
I love it. I love it so much. You say that it's not based off of any particular fanfic, but you've really encompassed all of the themes that I think make some of the best fan films or best sci-fi. And, this genre of film, it's all about hope and growing up and finding your place in the world. And I love that. It's great.
Thanks.
Josephine and Edward, inspirations, drawing from real life or?
Ours is super based in geek and fandom stuff. Not at all. So, but we love all that stuff, but obviously is not shown at all in our short.
What? Sorry, I'm interrupting. Phil has a cat and it's really cute.
Oh my god.
Oh, you guys have a cat.
Sorry. Upstage by a cat. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It is a cat. It's not me. This is not me. Go on.
Anyone else have a cat?
Yes, we have 3 cats. I hope to make an appearance.
I know you guys have a cat. I knew you have a cat. I have a cat, and he looks like Batman because he's got black, and he has looks like he's got a Batman head, and the rest of him is white, and he's just right here.
Sounds like Rob's perfect cat.
Amazing. Bruce, if the cat's name is Bruce, then we're going to have a serious conversation about this. Like,
No, his name is Panda.
All right, sorry.
Sorry.
Edward.
No, you're good. I love cats interruptions. I just ours are being antisocial.
Cats.
Well, our short came about because I wanted a better demo reel footage stuff for my acting reel. So it was a very narcissistic beginning, and I had read the script by our writer Ivan Sang a few years back, and then I was like, hey, can I use this? Because I feel like the characters are great, and like Iz said earlier, we wanted to see representation that for characters and roles that we normally don't get as Asian Americans.
Yeah.
Nothing super stereotypical. Exactly. So we're like, this is something we don't see, and it would be great to just exercise our acting chops. And so at first it was supposed to be a very small project between just me and Edward and a third person we could find, shoot it maybe in our house on a really crappy camera. But then Edward reached out, was like, hey, we can get Diane, our other producer, on board. And then he reached out to Din, who was like, yes, I want to work on this project. And it became this full-blown other thing, which is no longer just a demo reel footage, obviously.
Yeah. When Din came on board, he had a few ideas that he shared with Ivan, and because the original material was much more of a sketch comedy nature, it was pretty lighthearted, even though someone does die somewhere in the film. With Din on board, it definitely it became a very personal. It became like they added a lot more of the dark aspects of humanity into it, and so I think what also influenced his decision was also our when we were brainstorming the ideas that our influence for particularly Make-A-Wish is, for me, where my sensibilities come from is like a lot of the Korean films where they don't really seem to have a genre. Like probably the most recent famous examples, Parasite, where you're not quite sure what genre the film is. It kind of goes everywhere, and so you're kind of taken by surprise where the film takes you. So that was our goal for Make-A-Wish as well, where the audience isn't quite sure what to do or how to feel next. And so that was something we felt we accomplished with Ivan and Din, and that was the basis of our short film. And then after we finished it, we realized this was the kind of realm we enjoy. It was funny that we never thought this was a horror film until one of our early film festival submissions told us we were submitted in the wrong category, that this wasn't a comedy. It is funny, but it's a horror film. And then that's what influenced our decision. We were like, oh, then we started submitting to horror film festivals. We're like,
Which
maybe.
is ironic because I like hate horror films, and now we've been watching all these horror films, and I'm like, oh, all these years off my life have been taken off because apparently we're a horror short, or you know, it's a mix of stuff, but they kind of categorize it as a horror, and now it's more of a modern day timely horror, I guess.
Yes.
Especially like we said earlier, it's very because of what's been going on with Asian American hatred and all that stuff happening recently. It's become, people are like, oh, this is so topical. Can we talk? And we're like, oh yeah, I guess that definitely was a thing we were talking about, but now it's really the focus, it seems to be.
Previous film festivals, we would just talk about, you guys are so cute together, ha ha ha. So that kind of thing. Now, like, let's talk about what's going on here. I'm like, oh, we're entering that kind of discussion, which isn't bad. I mean, every film, as filmmakers, as you guys all know, you make one film, it's seen one way, and then a few years later, it becomes portrayed or interpreted completely differently because of the times we live in. So it's always fascinating to see the trajectory of where your film goes in a given time.
Definitely timely. Yeah, I mean, ride that wave. You know, like it's social, you know, social commentary, whatever. It's such a good wave to ride because it'll cause everyone to talk about it, interpret it, actually give it some deeper thought than just saying, oh, that was fun, you know, and moving on. As actors, like being actors in your film, I mean, oh my God, Josephine, you killed it. So many like twists and, you know, transcending, like subverting expectations. I mean, it was really, really very dark comedy, So funny.
She's so good. You're really good in it, Josephine.
Yeah, like chills. I was like, oh my gosh, she's so crazy.
Wow, it was incredible. It made me laugh so much, though.
Thank you so much, guys.
Our close friends have semi-joked that this film is possibly an exaggeration of our actual lives, of our actual relationship with each other. And when they said that, I'm like, it's not too far from the truth, with a few very dark elements in the short film. But I often am the bewildered, flustered boyfriend, and she is usually the one who, when she gets angry, man, like I thought I can be an angry person. People say, "Oh, Edward, you're so angry, passionate." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then I met her, and I'm like, I am nothing but a peasant in terms of that. So, yeah.
Ed, I feel like I should, you know, read you the Miranda rights here. Like, you have the right to remain silent, and anything you say can and will be used against you in the future.
Don't worry, everything is used against him every time.
Josephine's over there like, no. This is not based on our life.
Just delightful.
Oh, so funny. Kim, tell us a little bit about the inspirations behind your film.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I do a lot of daydreaming, and it started off with whatever music I was listening to at the time, just all these visions just started building up in my head, so I started writing it down, and I was working on other people's films at the time. I never really made my own. I wasn't confident enough to do it yet because I'm, you know, newbie compared to everybody else. And then I started to write the script, and then I finished it, and I networked with a lot of people, and they read the script, and they're like, "Yeah, this is great." And the inspiration was my favorite movies, which is Blade and Underworld, and yeah, Blade 2. But so I wanted to make something that I actually wanted to watch, and in our little small industry here in Brisbane, not many people were. So when I put the call out for people to come and help on the film, people were like, yeah, like, why isn't anyone making like vampires action movies? So yeah, it was just something that I wanted to do, like what I've always wanted to do. It's just out of pure fun. It's like a dream of mine. It's just to make something that I actually wanted to watch.
It's such a fun genre. I feel like vampire movies have a loyal fan base, you know? Very cool.
Well, and actually, Sorry.
No, go.
Actually, one of my favorite things of movies is soundtracks, and the score. So every movie's got like amazing music that goes along with it, and I'm a big fan of movie soundtracks. Like one of my favorite ones was the original Mortal Kombat movie back in the day. I love that soundtrack. I still listen to it. And
I feel like Rob is kindred spirit over here.
I love that. The thing is, don't get me wrong, it's a bad movie. But that soundtrack, I went into a nightclub once in Bristol, and I wasn't expecting anything from this night out, and then literally they started playing the Mortal Kombat theme in the dance floor, and I went, "All right, everyone, clear out!" Like now we're talking.
Get over here.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Oh, damn it, Phil, that's so much better.
But yeah, so I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to wanted to have some of the songs that I like. So I started talking to a lot of the bands around the area, and got two from Florida as well. They were interested. So yeah, it's just I wanted to watch, and hopefully people like watching it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about some of the other aspects of film, like topic aside, like filmmaking. I mean, filmmaking, for anyone who's never made a film before, it's such an undertaking. I'm sure, Kim, like you learned a lot because you said this is your first film, and kudos, like such an impressive way to come out the gate there. Music, soundtrack, lighting, tone, certain props. What was some of your, what were some aspects of your film that you really, really wanted to pay extra attention to, that you felt was like brought the heart out of it? Like what's something that you wanted to make sure that you just got absolutely right? Anyone?
Well, it's hard because my first film, so I felt like I was all over the place. But what I really wanted to get the lighting and the atmosphere, the feel. I had really great experienced crew that I trusted, and they did a great. I wanted to have that ambience, like the lighting, the gray music, and all that. I wanted to get that right, and I hope. I think I did, sort of. I mean, as a filmmaker, we are our own worst critic. So at the end of the day, we kind of you look back and you watch it. You want to change it, but
we all do that.
Yeah. So I
Kim,
still cringe. I cringe every time I watch it. So.
But I mean, as a first film, sorry, not to take over the questions here, Jackie, but it's amazing. As a first film, it's like brave. You're like doing a music video. You've got loads of cast. You've got crowd scenes. You got fights. You got stunts. You've got like creature effects. Got guns. You got like. I'm like, what? This is your first film. This is crazy, Kim. This is crazy.
It's so good.
Yeah,
I definitely worked for you.
I don't know what I was thinking. Doing that.
You should be like, I knew exactly what I was doing.
It's so cool.
We can even piggyback off of adding, what was a challenge? What you wanted to focus on. Maybe that was a challenge to you always. So it's like, yeah, feel free when you guys answer. Feel free to throw in like what was the hardest aspect of all of this too. Filmmaking is never easy. It's half of it producing and then the other half is putting fires. So. Yeah, go ahead. Chime in.
I feel like everything that went wrong when you're making a film, I copped it. That went wrong. Someone would get hurt on set, or something happened. One of our generators got stolen, and then during production, so many things happened. And then I think. Yeah, after the film wrapped, we lost two of our actors. So I felt like the crow, when Brandon Lee passed away on set, and we but it wasn't on my set, but it was still a huge loss. So it was a big lesson for me, to massive lesson. And I'm kind of doing this also in honor for the 2 actors that have passed away, because I hope they're of the film and where it's been and where it's gone. Yeah, so I hope no one gets to experience what I experienced during this. Bad. It was really bad. But at the end of the day, I've learned so much, a lot, and you grow, become a better person, better filmmaker, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't make it too depressed there.
Don't apologize at all. I think, honestly, because I've watched your film and I thought it was, as we've all said, it was fantastic, and it's still quite hard to believe, to be honest with you, that it's a first effort.
Yeah.
But like, to those actors, I think you did them credit and you've done them very proud, and I'm sure they would be immensely proud of this film. So, you know, kudos, seriously.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Rob, you seem to have a lot
I
of
love all your films too. Everyone has a big.
Rob, why don't you take the helm? I feel like you had.
Yeah, I watched Josephine Edwards' Make-A-Wish film. They just conquered the film festival world. Is your comic convention great? I love it. Love story. So cute. Phil Hawkins, Star Wars Origins. So slick. It looks like $1 million production. I love the story. Everyone's story was great. Sundown Trail. So much heart. So much heart. I love it. And Living in Crime Alley, Batman. I mean, I love Batman. So it was a little girl. Amazing.
Yeah.
She was,
Bella's
great actress, and I even like yeah, he was good too.
Yeah, I mean,
great soundtrack.
Well, thank you very much. No, I will pass on those comments to the rest of the team, who I now refer to as the Bat family, because that's pretty much what we went on this incredible journey together, myself and the crew, because it wasn't just to make a film, it was to celebrate the character that we all loved, really. But it just so happened that they appreciated the script and what it was trying to say and what it was trying to do. And interesting fact about Bella is that is her first role. That's her first, short film, like first on-screen performance. So, and she nails it completely. And with Vincent, he's a classically trained actor who happens to be a DC fan and stumbled the script online. And back in the day when I wasn't planning on making the film, this was way back in like 2018. We made the film in 2019. And he said, if you ever make this film, I want you to chat to me about it, because I'd love to audition for it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not thinking about it. And the problem was at the time, and I think we all go through this at one point, is we have a fear of failure. And that is ultimately why I didn't make Living in Crime Alley for so long, because I had this notion of, it's a Batman film, so you've got to really make it big and you've got to really sell the idea. So to answer your question about what was the challenge and filmmaking challenge for me about this particular film, was really bringing the believability of a 6'4" man in a bat suit to life. Because at the end of the day, it's as I just described it. It's a man dressed in a bat suit. It's that believable to an audience. Now, it's all well and good having 4 minutes of the story being set up with the father and the daughter and this relationship and this struggle that they're going through. But then when you bring Batman into the film, not only does the budget increase by £1,000 a minute, yes, that's true. It's an 8-minute film, so you get the drift. But also there brings this sense of responsibility and this this big overall arching figure. So, the way that we brought him to life was just referring back to our influences, the comics, the movies, but also for me, it was going back to cinema. So early cinema, like German expressionist cinema, like silent movies. So we treat Batman in this film in particular like a silent movie horror character. So the classic Nosferatu, shadows on the wall. That's the first time we see Batman in the film, is through a shadow on the wall. and then the rest of it is through suspense and tension. Having certain characters react in a way of, is Batman really around? Looking up into the sky or looking every corner, because that's the big tease of it all. I think Martin Scorsese even said it best, which is what's scary is what you don't see, but the tension that's there around it. And that's what we ultimately carried through the film. And that's why we use Batman very sparingly, because not only is he bloody expensive to bring onto screen, it's through a story choice to disrupt the overall narrative. And ultimately, he is the antagonist in this film, not the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
I always love hearing those stories of like how you figured out a problem and you worked it into the story. I think that's always great. And one of the cool things about filmmaking is you're kind of stuck with this problem or hurdle, and then you figure out a way, and it actually like makes it better in some way. So I love that you told that story, and it's great. That's cool, man.
That's sort of what I was going to mention as well, because shooting in the Sahara Desert and literally in the desert is an undertaking that naively possibly that we decided to do, and to bring that authenticity and scale to the film, that to take it out of looking like a fan film, in the kind of cliched feeling of what people think a fan film is, and that and a lot of the money that you spend is literally keeping people alive, keeping people watered and looked after, I don't know whether you know the stories of like George Lucas making A New Hope in Tunisia. We basically had apart from a washout of the set, we basically had the same thing. Almost the entire crew went down with sickness. I lost my cast. I lost, so there's certain sequences where you just have to throw the shot list out and think, right, what can I shoot today? Because that actor is well enough to get in a vehicle and be driven to the desert to shoot that scene. So there's certain scenes where, there's a confrontation between two characters involving a certain famous prop. And that was shot. If you can't see the other actor in that scene, it's someone else. It's a crew member. It's a stand-in. It's a producer. Wow. It's like it's shot over different days because and bless my actors to be able to pull off those performances and that intensity with the first AD staring at them, off camera, because I didn't have people. And for me, performances are everything. So I couldn't like sit around and cry about my shots or what I was trying to do. It's like, how can I best get the best performance out of this story? Because the audience doesn't care the way I was planning to shoot it. And to be honest, right now, as Iz was saying, I can't remember the way I was going to shoot it, because that's just how it is now. And you find creative solutions when you're kind of in that environment. Which is why I'm still amazed that that Bike Club is her first film, because like I had to like dive deep into 15 years directing experience to kind of make that happen, that I couldn't have made on my first film, so it's kind of fascinating, because I keep meaning to figure out what the American temperature version is, but it's 50 degrees C, so half a boiling point shooting the film outside and exposed. So think about the lead actress driving that little Jeep with no hat, no covering in the desert in that heat, like nuts, crazy. So you can see why people got sick.
Oh my gosh, 50 C that's 100. I just Googled it really quickly.
There you go. What's that?
122 Fahrenheit.
There you go.
That's so hot.
That's hot. That's really hot.
Ask, and this will be for any Star Wars fan out there, but was there a sound operator wearing pink shorts in the desert?
Rob, that was me wearing pink shorts. I had to, in honor. No, my God, you'd be boiled alive if you were. I don't know how he did it.
That should have been in the contract.
I should have got the sound guys to do that. Yeah. So we had a lot of challenges, making the film just because of the environment, but it was worth it for the scale of it, and because you can imagine another version where it's shot on a beach or in a sand dune or in a quarry or something, and the story would still be there, but it wouldn't have that scale that we're all kind of aiming for. So it was worth the bugs that we all brought back. I think I was still suffering like 5 months later with various things from shooting. So you all better enjoy it because it was painful.
I mean, the production value on that was incredible. It blew me away. I mean, you really took advantage of all the drone shots that you could possibly get being out there. Because like you said, I mean, we've all seen our share of fan films that are on a beach or on a dune someplace. It really,
and that's not discouraging towards us filmmakers making those films, because like some people are making fan films as their first films, like I did. You see something you love and you want to copy it, be a part of it, tell a bit of a story that you've come up with, and that's wonderful. And that's what I love about fan film, especially the Star Wars fan film community is kind of amazing. But I did this both as a fan of Lucas, Spielberg, that kind of thing, but also for me as a calling card for studio film to go, hi, this is me. I'm in the UK, but we don't all make black and white, depressing, poverty porn raining films. Some of us want to make big movies. So that's why it was an investment in us as filmmakers to go put our money where our mouth is and trying to make something that would stand up, so that was the aim, really.
For sure. And yeah, just to not intimidate any up and coming filmmakers out there, like start with what you have, because Phil, you're saying you've got a lot of years of experience behind you, and that speaks volumes. And a movie like this definitely comes at a cost. And I know acquiring budget is one of the challenges of a filmmaker, especially an indie filmmaker. You have on your Twitter the most expensive fan film ever created.
It's only because Twitter wouldn't let me. I run out of characters being arguably the most expensive. We've not released the exact budget, but it's definitely into the six figures. It's a huge production. All the tanks are real. It's a co-production Morocco and France, where the weapons come from, and the Moroccan army, and it's people thought we were just shooting Star Wars. The base camp we had in the desert was just shelter people. People just thought it was Star Wars, which was fun to pretend and just be like, it's like Han Solo 2. We always made up things to do. But yeah, it's all personally financed. It's kind of like it's between me and my exec producer, who is a lifelong Star Wars fan and a commercials producer, and wanted to make drama, wanted to make a film, and he was crazy enough to put some money as well, which is crazy because you can't make money from these things, because they shut you down.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of an investment in the career, and lucky enough to make commercials, and that's why it took years. I just saved for years to make the film. That's how serious we were about it, and we still didn't have enough money to do certain things and all that stuff. But that's the saying. If anyone's watching as a filmmaker, and I'm glad you bring that up, because I don't want people to be intimidated by that film to go like, oh, well, I could never make that. It's like, well, I could have never made that when I was starting out. That was a lot of favors, a lot of pulling in people, a lot of experienced crew, really everyone just trying to do be on their A game, and bring that passion for Star Wars and these stories, especially like the visual effects company. Like, it's a dream for them to, do a Star Destroyer or recreate the Star Destroyer, deck and all that kind of stuff at that quality, at that scale. So, that was, and that's why they did it, again, to show what they could do. And they did an absolutely stunning job. So, yeah.
you'd be amazed by a lot of people who, when you turn around to somebody, I'm sure it was the case with you, Phil, when you say to somebody, "I'm making a Star Wars film," and they'll go, "Yes." It was I'm making a Batman film. What? Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great to because sometimes you just need to dig deep into that passion to, for what you're making, for the story you're telling. And that's whether it's a fan film or not. The passion for a script or a story is everything. And if everyone believes in it, then you're in a wonderful place as a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Luke, what were some of the challenges of yours?
Well, I think the thing that I spent the most time on, and probably was the biggest challenge, was just the casting. The entire film really rests on the shoulders of the character Thomas, played by the very talented Mason McNulty, who now I was talking to him and his mom on the phone the other day, and I thought it was his dad talking because his voice has changed. And so I was like, "Hey, Carrie," and it's like, "Oh no, this is Mason." And I was like, "What?" So yeah, things happen around that age. But yeah, he, the film, he's the protagonist. It's a kid, I don't know, tween boy, not in that middle zone. And I wanted to get an actor who both had the believability of someone who could step up and do more adult things and become a man during the course of the story, but also like you needed to believe that they were also a kid still. And they also, it was a tough role. There's a lot of physicality. They have to move around a lot. There's a big range of emotion that they need. And so I really needed someone who not only looked the part, but also had the acting chops and the on-set experience to do it. And, if the cinematographer said, like, "Come over here, we need you for blocking," I needed them to know what that meant without me having to tell them that. And so we saw a lot of kids to find that, to find Mason. We did a lot of casting, and we even pushed the shoot once because we hadn't found somebody that we really liked, and it was worth it. It was, I would say like writing then casting are the two most important things you can do for your project. And I'm glad we spent the extra time to find him.
Yeah, for sure. The words and the character, I mean, that's the life and blood of the movie. So you got to get that right. I mean, kudos to you. You found he's so talented. Is it just me or like child actors becoming so talented now? There's so many of them. Like, wow, how did they learn so much?
I think with I think now that the technology has been so much more democratized and it's easy to make things. You don't have to have a 16 millimeter camera and a separate sound system. You don't have to, you're not spending hundreds of dollars a foot to try to get something. I think that allows people to make more projects and make projects from an earlier age. You can just edit something right out. You can just buy an Apple off the shelf and you can make a movie on it. And when I started, you had to buy extra PCI cards and special fast hard drives. And there was this whole thing you had to do to build a system. It didn't just come, it didn't just come from the store ready to go. And I think because of that, that could be one of the reasons why we're seeing, people getting more experience and more talented young actors is just they're getting that practice and they're able to, build up their chops because so many more people have the ability to make films.
That's so true. Even like TikTok and, social media, like kids they're performers now, right?
Luke, I remember the first, sorry, I think it was delay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. No, I was just saying, Luke, like the first time my graphics card was able to do a cross dissolve on an edit, was like blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like every film I made had dissolves in it because I was like, yeah, I can do this now.
Yeah, totally.
Luke, can I quickly just ask about? Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask.
No, go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to ask about. There's a scene in the film which really struck me, which I don't want to spoil, but it's between the boy and the guy at the very end who's by the tree. I think that kind of doesn't give too much away.
Yeah.
I was wanted to know about in terms of directing that particular moment, was there any rehearsals, or was it just in the moment, kind of, on the day kind of filming?
Yeah, well, so Mason is from Los Angeles,
right?
And Jason, the guy who plays the other character, Sam, is from the Seattle area. So we weren't able to. We did rehearsals with Mason and Joshua, the guy who plays the dad, but we weren't able to do rehearsals beforehand with those guys. So we ran through it on set. We did like a few dry runs of it, but we didn't get to have a fully separate rehearsal of that moment. Yeah.
I just thought it was really well done, that moment, and I just wanted to ask in particular how, because in the line especially, which again I don't want to give anything away, but the final line that the kid says to that character is very powerful, and I just thought the way that it was timed and everything. I mean, obviously editing is everything, but
yeah,
in terms of the performances, I just wanted to explore. Was it rehearsed, or was it just get the actors and do it?
Mason and I worked on it a bit, but as far as like having the two actors together, we had limited time that we could do that.
Right.
But thank you. Yeah, Mason is just again the casting, like you find a great actor and you give them words that are true to the moment, and it's amazing what they'll bring onto screen.
Yeah. No, great work, man.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, Josephine and Edward, challenges, funny stories. Let's hear it all.
Well, like Kim, this was our first project we ever really worked on, because we've done other stuff. Like we've been actors in other projects, but we've never actually been like, we're gonna produce and make this thing on our own. And obviously we brought in a lot of people, but we're just like, this is our baby. Let's see what we can do with this. And also our first time really working together. We're like, can we survive this? How will this play out? But yeah, we were definitely there after every step of the way, just to make sure it was just kind of like what we wanted. So for us, it was a huge learning experience. Very different from Kim, though. She went guns blazing, literally, and doing all the crazy stuff. And we're like, we're going to keep it as small and tiny and contained as possible, just to see how we manage. Also, because that was the whole point of the reel, and Ivan, when he had written the script, that was his thing, was like, what constraints can he do? He's like, the smallest, like just one room with as minimal actors as possible and tell the story, and that's it. But then, of course, it became this whole other thing. We were definitely more involved, super hands-on with the post-production stuff. So with the whole sound, editing, everything, like we had a lot more terrible jokes that was involved in our short, but then we like cut those all out, because once we were watching it, we're like, oh, this is yikes. Yeah, we don't need any of this stuff with the music and just everything. Like Edward here is like the whole social person, so he will go network, find everybody that we need for everything, and then he was like connecting with everyone, and then I'm only there when it's like, all right, we need the technical stuff. Let me do all the nitty gritty details and what we actually like want to keep and not keep, whatever. But then Edward's like, I will be the one to network everyone. And same with like the film festival submissions. Oh my God, that was all him, because he's just like, I love being a Jerry and just sitting here emailing everybody, telling them all about our film and doing all this crazy stuff.
Just reference Jerry. He's a character from Parks and Rec who loved doing the most menial tasks possible. There's a scene from the show where he's just like licking envelopes, and one of his coworkers decides to cancel her date because she's like, I'd rather watch this guy lick envelopes to infinity.
He ran out of envelopes to lick, but he kept going, and he was just stuck in this pattern, and she was like, oh my God. So she just pushes a new box to him, and then he continues. But that's Edward. Like,
that was me during the film festival submission.
It's happening now still, because he's still emailing people like, oh, we'll just wake up, and he's just sitting there going, and his mouth, like, drool's coming out. I'm like, are you? He's like,
One of the challenges we had, definitely, like during the pre-production and the shoot itself, that actually was handled pretty smoothly, because we did have Diane Foster, who definitely was an experienced producer. She handled like the logistics of during the day and then before, and then when we were shooting it, she told us, okay, you guys are not producers today, you guys are just actors, just worry just about that. And that definitely made our lives a lot easier. And then when it came to post-production, as Josephine said, we definitely took more of a role in terms of like choosing in terms of the composer and everything. And the challenge was that we set about, Josephine was one who set the initiative, was like trying to find diverse behind the scenes talent, which actually is a lot more difficult than we realized, because when it came to qualifying amazing crew people, like when it came to Caucasian men, that was very easy to find. Like we knew they were out there, that's easy. But if you have to go specific, like, okay, do we know a Black female sound designer? That becomes a lot more harder, and you can't just like do a generic call and then see if you can find it. So what I had to do was through Twitter and social media, just seek out whoever, like, especially for sound design, especially for music and sound mixing. We actually kind of like, I did like a nationwide, it was very ambitious. Nationwide.
Sounds fancy. It sounds fancy.
It was just like, hey, we got a paying gig. We're looking for like a Black, Indigenous, Latina female, trying to get more like women behind the scenes involved. And so
you got a lot of hate too from
we got some
white males who are like, what about me? And we're like, no, we know you're good.
We know you're good. It's just, we just want to know if they're out there, which there aren't that many. But then we thought that, hey, this is a low budget short film, but we did have a great director on board. If they can work on this, and a lot of it was risk, like, because they don't really get those chances. So it's like why would you give them that chance? So we're like, okay, so a lot of it was trust and just like people who refer them. And thankfully, some of the people we got that were referred to us were amazing, and they never worked on a narrative short film before. They just done like music videos or whatever. So it was great to see them just like jump on board, be like, oh my God, I want to do it. It also helped that they liked our short film, that they were like, this is something that we're down to work on for a lower cost than we normally do, because our philosophy is that we did pay everyone on set, despite how micro budget our short film was. But we believe that they had to be compensated for some manner, even if it wasn't the usual daily rate that they're used to. And so with our sound designer, I think I'm very proud of where she's been. Like our sound designer, Venus Leon, she has never worked on those narratives thing. And now she's like doing sound mixing for the Netflix show, Dear White People, which is extraordinary. Just like where she went, like immediately jumped up from there.
Are you saying it's because of us?
I don't know if it's because of us. But I do know that it was. We were very fortunate to have her skills and just giving her a chance. And she would just tell us, hey, thank you for giving me that, because I never had it. And so I think it was a challenge that I think did delay the post-production process by a very long time, considering how micro budget and small a short film was that could easily be done quicker. But I think the search was worth it in the end.
Yeah, because our actual pre-production, it was only a month, because we had set ourselves like that, the thing where it was like, we have to make this, because so many times artists, we say so many things we want to do, but we never get around to doing it. So we're like, all right, we're doing this, right? Yes. Okay, we're doing it before the year ends. This was back in 2018.
2018.
Oh my God, yeah, this was like a while back. And then so we did that. So everything felt kind of rushed. But then after that, we're like, okay, we need to take a breather, really take our time to fill out who we want to find for this thing, and just make sure it comes to kind of close to what our vision is, if we ever had one, I guess.
She was definitely much more nitpicky, where some of the acting choices that either she made or I made or our third actor made, she'd be like, is there a better edit? Is there a better version of this? I'm like, that's all we got, man. We only got like 5 takes of this, and that's we're gonna have to make do. She's like, can we just rewind time and just reshoot that scene? I'm like, no, that you can't do that.
And we have to commend our third actor, Roman Moretti, whom Edward found, or we knew him beforehand, but it was all nepotism. No auditioning. Sorry. But it was because we're like, who can embody this character? Be okay embodying this kind of person, and just he doesn't move much, but it required, like, there's a lot more I guess physicality involved, just being okay not moving that much in that space. So he took it like a champ. That sounds kind of gross, but it was like just a 1-day shoot, 12 hours. He was doing that position for 10 hours straight, like no breaks, because
yes, he had bathroom breaks.
Yeah, no breaks whatsoever.
No breaks.
But it was just because we needed him for all the shots. And it was also really hard to like market it, because we're like, we can't show you because that's a spoiler. So you just get to be on the poster.
Yeah, his face is that's a picture of him when he was in high school.
Like, oh yeah, and since our short, he has been a crazy like Hulk protein man, and he is now like super, super ripped. He wasn't like not ripped before, but like there's no way we could have done what we did in our short with the body he has now versus what you see in the short. It's like he's eaten his old self and became a new giant man. Yeah, but yeah, he's like super ripped. His whole thing is like he wants to be like the next Captain America, Thor, and we're like, yeah, we see that now, but if you had that before, what we did to you would not fly.
Yeah, I would have easily been killed. Yes.
Yes.
I feel like anyone who's watching this panel and has not seen your movie before literally has no idea what they're walking into. They're like, it can go in this direction or it can go in this direction.
Sounds like we're talking about a porn film.
It's a porn.
It's a porn
film. And I want to say I applaud you guys for taking the time and effort for trying to find someone who hasn't had the opportunities before, because I definitely think that's how people in this industry grow. You know, like experience is everything. And if you've never been given the opportunities, and you really do have a hard time elevating yourself to the next tier. So kudos to you guys for making that effort for sure. I don't think we asked you this question, so I want to give you a chance to answer. Challenges on your film.
You know, like many others, it was casting. I had issues finding the right cast. For some weird reason, I don't know if just all Latino actors in LA were just busy, but I could not find a lot of Latino actors, so it took a while. And it's funny because originally it was only supposed to be one Manny in the story. It was supposed to be just a Latino Manny, and weird stuff happened with casting. I won't get into it because it's a long story, but that the casting happened the way it did, and then that's kind of how the idea of the Latino Manny making a video blog, that's where that idea kind of came from. So I had to kind of just throw stuff to the wall and just be like, hopefully this works, because I had to shoot that stuff later. But so casting, time, I was getting very ambitious on what I could shoot and what I wanted to shoot. So for example, like that whole metal band scene, it was totally cool. The band was cool as hell. But it just took time. Like I feel like that was a thing where I was like, I didn't anticipate it would take so long to like light, this empty room, where the band was going to play in a crowd. And then just have them set up. But I mean, it turned out cool, but I think that those were the biggest obstacles, honestly. We're just casting, like others, because we were calling in favors and, cast wasn't working for 100%, rate. We had to work around schedules, because they had other projects, where they were making a lot more money than I was paying them. So we had to kind of work around those schedules, to make it work. So those were mostly the challenges. Other than just trying to figure out, how I was going to tell a story, but yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah. I can't think of anything at the moment, but yeah.
The logistics.
What's that?
The graphics difficult. Were the graphics difficult because there's so many of them and they're so specific? So
the graphics part was really difficult because we had no budget, so we had to kind of find a way to just try to do it ourselves, which you could probably tell. Hiring.
No, well, you can't. That's the thing. They're so perfect, and they work so well with the shots and the feel of them. I thought I was watching it thinking, my God, this must be a pain.
It did take a while. Like I said, it turns out VFX, not that I didn't know, but it turns out VFX are expensive to hire somebody, and we just didn't have the finances. So we were just like, let's download some stuff and try it out and experiment. It took a while. I was like working on 2 different projects actually. So it was like going back and forth and trying to figure out the the visual elements of it and the comic book effects. It sucked because originally I was actually talking to one guy who was actually going to illustrate a lot of the panels for the comic book effects. So he was actually going to take like a blank page and actually illustrate, the portions for the film, which would have been great because that would have looked like a real comic. So instead we just had to have like this weird filter but I mean, it turned out fine. I think conceptually is really what I wanted. I wanted to put the idea out there conceptually of what a next episode would look like, but just with more people working on it, But no, they were definitely hard. They were time consuming. the one shot where he's dropping, I guess I won't say what it is, but he's, where Manny is dropping, a shredded something, and it kind of transitions to comic. I really like that shot, but it's at the same time, I wish it could be better, and I think maybe for the next things, that'll be a really cool thing to establish, that world that he's kind of transitioning from, where he's like so caught up in the comic world and seeing something walk away, that's in real life, and I think that thematically was like a really cool thing to do. And it turned out okay, but I think that was a huge challenge. So thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, the VFX stuff was like, a lot of experimentation. But
it's just amazing. Yeah, it's just amazing to see it. And it shows a real love of comic books through that, because only someone that loves comic books would be able to even conceptualize that. So, so it was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
And it didn't feel lacking to me. So I didn't watch it thinking,
that's good.
So we all look at our films and think, oh my God, that could have been better. But but the audience doesn't.
Yeah, we've had some cool people say, like, even just the X-Men references on the cover of the poster, where it's like giant size issue, and that was like one of the things with the X-Men comics. It was like giant size issue #1. So it's like when people kind of recognize that and reference it and think like, oh, that's cool that you added that. It's such a nerdy thing, you damn nerd. And then it's like, yeah, cool, thanks. So those little details are fun.
I was going to ask, because you mentions that it's like based on true events, sort of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there are certain things. Now, I'm not going to make this too uncomfortable, hopefully, but there is one sequence, and I have to bring it up because it mentions Batman, but
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
The bedroom with the Batman mask. Explain this, please.
I knew this was coming, Rob. As soon as I saw it, I was like,
so that's not based on something personally that happened to me. But for all you know, I may be lying. I don't know. But
is that the mask on the wall behind you? Is that right? Is that hanging up behind you?
So yeah, that was actually a really funny. I was like cackling. I felt like I was crying, laughing. Watching that scene, because I didn't show a lot of it, but there was a part, without giving too much away, where he's like rolling his eyes back, and it was just the funniest, weirdest thing. With the cowl like on his face, kind of like coming off. It was just, I couldn't stop laughing. Everybody, but anyway, the based on a true story, it was supposed to be more of like the Latino Manny, like trying to explain kind of what happened to him, but like dramatized. However, there are references to things, like from my personal life, like not that though, but just some of the just references with relationships and things, like not being on the same page, like that kind of stuff was there. But that Batman thing was pretty funny. Yeah, that was hilarious. I didn't think about it right away, and I was like, of course Rob's gonna ask about that. Yeah.
People are gonna watch and be like, oh yeah, this scene.
Yeah.
Rob, you could have given him your cowl. Okay. That's what I'm fair.
Yeah. I mean,
oh no, you wouldn't want to let me borrow it. It got messy. It got messy.
Well, you answered the question, so thank you.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think we are hitting our time limit here. So I want to give everyone a chance to do a last minute plug, any social medias. If your film is going to be on a different platform after this weekend is over, if you have anything else coming up that you'd like to plug. So just wanted to give you guys a chance for that. We'll start with you.
So far, GeekFest is the way to go right now. So we'll see if anything else comes up. But you can keep up with my project, including comic conventions and some of the other ones. Because I'm working on a couple of other projects as well. But I am on the Instas and Twitter at IZGOOT, and my website just is Gutierrez. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be the best way. I actually wanted to congratulate everybody, and I'm really proud to be among all you filmmakers. This is like really cool. You all did a great job, and I loved being part of this panel. Thank you.
Cool. Phil?
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, GeekFest is the place to see it. So see Star Wars Origins. That's great. Vote for everyone's films because they're all awesome in different ways. Yeah, I'm at Phil M blog. So you can say hello on that. And Rob and I are kind of hanging out a lot on Clubhouse and chatting about our film and things. So if anyone's on that, then do come and say hello. But yeah, that's me. So thank you, and took the words out of my mouth, but it's a delight to be part of this festival. One I've watched from afar, and in the past, and we really had this high on our list to kind of be to submit to. So it's a delight to be a part of it.
Awesome, Rob.
So you can follow me at Rob Ayling on Instagram or at Rob Ayling Film on Twitter, and then you can follow the Facebook page, the Twitter, Instagram of Living in Crime Alley there as well. It is playing at GeekFest this weekend. Onwards, who knows? I hope you guys enjoy the film. See it as a drama which happens to have Batman in it. I think that's the best way to kind of view it and see it. And please watch all the other films that are on there as well and vote for them as well. They're all fantastic. And thanks again for keeping the spirit of film festivals alive during this time. So thank you very much.
Josephine and Edward.
I think the easiest handle, because then we have to share so many handles. Just follow at Make-A-Wish Film, and then in the bio it has the Instagram handles for Josephine as well as myself. It's just at Make-A-Wish Film. Perfect. In terms of our journey after this, we are still very much on our film festival journey. The most immediate one after GeekFest, we'll be playing at Panic Fest, virtually and in person, and then we're also going to be playing for Brazil audience for Fantaspoa. That will be coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Just 2 minutes.
Okay.
Just follow the thing.
Just follow the thing.
See the list that Edward has so wonderfully curated. But yes, I want to say thank you so much for having us part of your film festival. Also, it's so refreshing to watch stuff that's like science fiction, fantasy-ish versus just horror, terror, and things happening all the time. But we're just trying to survive quarantine-ish. It's ending, yes, but we're all waiting for vaccinations for everybody. And it's great to have been able to meet everybody, because otherwise we normally wouldn't have seen you if it was like an in-person event, probably, because internationals and all that stuff. So as much as I appreciate Zoom stuff, it's also like, it's nice to be able to meet other people too.
It is. It's a great way to connect, for sure. Especially coming from all over like this. This is really great. Luke, what's your plugs?
Hey, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Luke Giudici, so first name, last name. Aside from GeekFest, I'm writing the feature version of Sundown Trail, so I think I might have figured out how to rewrite the third act to be what I want this morning, so pretty excited about that. I'm also excited to be at actual physical film festivals again, and hopefully I can meet some of you guys in person. It would be great to break bread and get a drink and do all those things that we miss. So Thank you for including us in Sundown in the festival.
Awesome. Yeah, we're so happy to have you guys. And I do want to throw up Kim's plugs as well. I know we've kind of lost her due to technical difficulties, but her Instagram is at Kim_. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Unofficial. And then, yeah, so everyone who, please watch the films. Please follow all these amazing people on social media. Check out their other works. My name is Jackie Dallas, and my Insta and Twitter is Jax Dallas, JaxDallas. All weekend, the films will be screening. Definitely watch them, vote on them, get yourself into that $50 gift certificate raffle. And gosh, I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with next. And we'll be following you guys all year because that's what GeekFest does. All right, thanks so much for joining us, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.